Hey everybody, Mr. Berg here, and we're going to talk about drawing three-dimensional objects like spheres and cylinders, and maybe some cubes too. Here we go. You need to be able to create different types of value. So we did something about shading, hatching, cross-hatching, scribbles, and stippling. These are all different methods for creating value. You can use any one of these in order to give your three-dimensional objects different textures. We're going to mostly do shading right now because, it works for this. I've taken a piece of paper and divided it up into 6 squares or rectangles. We are going to draw a cube, a sphere, a cylinder, a cone, not an ice cream cone, unfortunately. Actually, maybe an ice cream cone. And then the other two are going to be choice, 1 and 2. You can decide whatever you want to draw, but you're going to try to make it look three-dimensional. Let's start with a cube. Now, there's 2 different ways to draw a cube. You can draw a transparent cube or an opaque cube. Transparent cube has 2 overlapping circles. Start off with 1 circle like this. 2 overlapping squares. I just said 2 overlapping circles. That is definitely not true. 2 overlapping squares for a transparent cube. Transparent means it's see-through. 2 squares, they're overlapping like that, and they're about the same size, and now it's just a matter of connecting the corners. Okay? That's transparent. It's clearly three-dimensional. Now, if you wanted to draw an opaque cube, non-transparent cube, you start with a square again. It's more of a rectangle, but let's call it a square. A little wobble on the edge there. A square. And now you're going to pull it in one direction. So I'm going to pull mine down to the left here. Now, from these 3 sides, you want all these lines to be about the same angle and the same length. Now it's just a matter of connecting the vertical line and connecting with the horizontal line. And now we have an opaque cube. It's not see-through. You can't see the back side of it. Then you could go on and start shading some things in. You could make like this bottom side of the cube the darkest, perhaps, because maybe it's a sunny day, so the bottom side of the cube is the darkest. Something that's kind of interesting about cubes is some people would say, what do you mean that's the bottom of the cube? That looks like the inside corner of a room, where this is the floor, and that's a wall, and that's a wall. Yeah, cubes are interesting like that. Then you could choose this side, maybe you go a little bit lighter, or something like that. And then this last one, you go even lighter, however you want to do it. It's a cube. Now a sphere. The trick to a sphere is to start with a good circle. I'm not great at freehand drawing circles, but I'm going to try. A lot of times I just grab something to trace. It's a decent circle. Sometimes, in order to draw a good shape, I'll even kind of go around it a few times like that to kind of build a shape, and then I can always go back and erase the extra parts after. We're going to say our light source is up here at the top right, which means it's going to be lightest up here, gradually get darker. One thing you'll want to do is think about the equator. If you guys know what the equator on the Earth is, it's basically what separates the top half of the Earth from the bottom half of the Earth. On a sphere, the equator separates the top half of the sphere from the bottom half. If the light's up here, the bottom half is going to be a lot darker than the top half. We're also going to add a shadow to this sphere because three-dimensional objects have shadows. Okay, that's going to be the darkest part. I'm going to fill that in first. You don't have to do the shadow first, but I like to do it just to make sure I can always, create my darkest value, and then I can make everything else lighter from there. So I'm trying to make this a nice smooth value. And now, for the rest of my sphere, I'm going to start with my highlight, which is my light part up here. So I'm going to slowly it's going to be my lightest area, and it's gradually going to get a little bit darker. Now, you can kind of shade things in curving lines like this if you want, but what you want to try to avoid is all these streaks in there. So I like to maybe turn my pencil like this a little. I'm going to do this top half, kind of a lighter gray, and then once I hit that equator, I'm going to make it significantly darker. You can always go back and erase things, which makes it easier. Pencil's acting up a little bit here. Spheres take a little bit of time, but if you are patient in creating your smooth values, you can end up creating something that really actually looks three-dimensional. Pretty cool. You do not have to hold your pencil like I am. That's just the method that I feel works best for me. Okay? We're going to soften this equator line here. Might even need to erase a little bit of that. But now I'm going to start going darker. Around that equator. Not as dark as the shadow. You know what I even like to do is use my finger to kind of blend some things in. Smooth out those pencil lines a little bit. And we're slowly building the sphere. I think I might need to sharpen my pencil a little bit. can always go back and erase the pencil if you need to. And you can always, if you keep things light, you can always go back and add a little bit more to it if you need to as well. I feel like I'm maybe getting a little bit too dark there, but let's have a look and see. I'm gonna make that a little bit gray. Use my finger, kind of blend that in. It's getting there. It could be a lot better. I don't want to take too much time here. What I'm going to do now is grab my eraser, kind of start erasing a few lines kind of in the shape of my sphere, and slowly building this three-dimensional object. This one probably takes the longest out of all of them. But it's a decent sphere. Looks pretty good like a ball, and it has a shadow. Sorry about that, that took a while. Now the cylinder. Cylinders are not just a circle with a rectangle below it. Cylinders have an ellipse up top. I think of it like a can of soda or something, right? Or a soup can. So you got this ellipse up top. You come down on the sides. And now this is a part a lot of people forget. They draw this straight line across to finish it. But actually this bottom of the cylinder should match the curve for the top. Sometimes this takes a little bit of practice, even some erasing. There we go. That's the start of the cylinder. We're going to pretend our light source is up here again. So this is going to be lightest. On this side over here, it's going to be pretty dark. And one thing I like to do is actually leave a small little sliver of light on that far side of the can. Just makes it look a little bit more three-dimensional here. So I've sharpened my pencil a little bit, and I like to leave a little bit of sliver along the edges, and then I'm going to kind of go dark around the sides and gradually get lighter towards the center of the cylinder. And this should look pretty cool and pretty three-dimensional once I'm done. Let's give it a shot. There, it's a decent cylinder, okay? We made our way through it. We can work on that a little bit more. Now we're gonna do a cone, and then you got two choice ones. So a cone is basically a triangle that has a circular bottom to it. So I'm gonna lightly try to draw my triangle here, or the beginnings of a triangle. And then, just like the cylinder, we wanna curve the bottom edge of it here. It looks a little lopsided, but I think it's good enough for right now. Okay, now with the light source, let's say the light source is over here this time. Okay, so it's going to be light, and it's going to gradually get darker towards the other side of my cone. Here we go. Notice how I'm kind of curving these lines towards the bottom of the cone to simulate that it is like a rounded object. We don't want it to look too linear because it is a cone. It's not a triangle, it's a cone. So it has roundness to it. It kind of helps like that a little bit. I'm going to go back through, kind of darken up my base here a little. Decent cone. This part would be kind of tricky because if it did have a shadow, it would kind of be maybe kind of like this. It'd be pretty dark. Maybe something like that. Okay, now what we're gonna have you do is two choice three-dimensional objects. Choose something. Okay, it can be what's called an organic shape, which means it could be anything. You know, it could be a bean shape. It could be a heart. Maybe a little lovebird. I'm gonna learn how to draw a heart. And now just choose where you want the light side to be, where the dark side to be. And this one, Let's say you're just making some sort of blob, three-dimensional, okay? You're gonna use the same concepts that you see above to try to make it look three-dimensional using shading. Cool, good luck. See you later.